Welcome to Daily Office Devotions. I'm Reggie Kidd, joining you from inside the Cathedral Church of St. Luke in Orlando, Florida. Thanks so much for joining me on this Wednesday following the third Sunday after Pentecost. Our readings today find us in Proper 8 of the daily lectionary of the Book of Common Prayer. Balaam had a good day today. He consults the Lord before speaking and then blesses rather than curses Israel. But today we focus on the epistle. Today's reading in Romans is a head scratcher. Paul has just said, do not let sin exercise dominion in your mortal bodies, and sin will have no dominion over you. Romans chapter 6, verses 12 and 14. But here he writes as though the opposite were true. I am of the flesh, sold into slavery unto sin, and with my flesh I am a slave to the law of sin. Romans chapter 7, verses 14 and 25. For centuries, students of Paul have argued among themselves about Paul's meaning in Romans chapter 7, verses 14 through 25. Some think that by adding Romans 7's realism about feeling defeated by sin to Romans 6's theme of victory over sin, Paul describes the normal Christians, including his own, continuing struggle with sin. Here, they say, Paul vividly engages the existential reality of a salvation that has already taken hold of the believer, but that has not yet become complete, and will not be made complete until final resurrection. Others think that Paul is describing two different people. In Romans 6, the Christian believer, and in Romans 7, the probably Jewish, not yet believer, whose conscience has been pricked by the law. According to the first view, Romans 7's bemoaning the effects of sin describes part of, well, almost every Christian's life. According to the second view, only Romans 6's celebration of victory over sin and not Romans 7's lament about the effects of sin describes the Christian life, or at least what the Christian life is supposed to be. Those who hold the first view worry that the second view leads to a naive and shallow triumphalism about the Christian life. If I'm not feeling the victory at every moment, there must be something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not really saved. Those who hold the second view worry that the first view results in a sense that the Christian life is depressing and morbidly defeatist. The best I can hope for in my Christian life is to get used to being justified as a sinner, feeling bad enough about my sin that I will constantly confess it and receive absolution. I happen to think that in Romans 7, Paul does reflect on the believer's awareness of the drag of sin to which they are susceptible. That's the first view. Even though they know the truths of Romans 4 and Romans 5, their message that justification comes by faith, and Romans 6 is good news that new life has taken hold of them. Sin still indwells, and it disturbs us because it's not supposed to be there. The resolution awaits Romans 8, where Paul will turn to the power of the Holy Spirit to lead us, to bear witness to our self-condemning spirits that we are indeed God's children, to groan with us at our struggle as sinners in a still fallen world, to mold us to further conformity to Christ's image, to shout down any lingering voices of condemnation, and to remind us that even in this life, we are more than conquerors. Romans 7 allows us to acknowledge what we all feel. I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I do. Romans 7 gives us words for the near schizophrenia we feel when we find ourselves at war within ourselves over let thy will be done and let my will be done. Romans 7 gives voice to our cry for deliverance, for rescue, and in that very gift, Romans 7, sandwiched as it is between Romans 4 through 6 and Romans 8, reminds us that the Lord has already heard our cry. Faith justifies, the Spirit intercedes, Christ molds, the Father loves. The victory that began at the cross and resurrection will be completed, for the sufferings of this present time, including the lingering, sometimes debilitating effects of sin, are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed in us. Romans chapter 8, verse 18. Friends, be blessed this day.